Imagine it's a quiet Monday morning in Dorchester. You're at home, moving through your routine, maybe brushing your teeth or reading a book. You feel safe. You feel at home. But in just a few short minutes, a man bursts through the door and he knows exactly where to stand, exactly when to arrive. And by the time he left, 2 people will be dead, 1 left terrified, and an innocent 2-year-old baby girl left drenched in a pool of blood. That's exactly what happened in the apartment of the 2 Emile sisters, Stephanie and Judith Emile. Today, we're dissecting every gritty detail of this case. The 37-minute countdown of phone calls, the mistake that revealed the identity of the killer, and the 6-year international manhunt that spanned borders and ultimately justice for the Emile's family.
This video discusses themes of domestic violence, intimate partner abuse, and murder, which may be distressing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Sakpasi everybody, welcome to Mimi's True Crime Podcast. In this channel, we explore lesser known cases that deserve more attention and share tips on how you can stay safe and informed. I invite you to join our small community by clicking the subscribe button, like and share this video if you care. Now, let's dive into today's case. The murder of the Emile sisters is one of the most chilling, cold-blooded, targeted attack in modern Boston history. But before we get to the thick of this case, we need to go back to Haiti and find out how the family ended up in Dorchester. According to the family, in the years before they left, Haiti faced serious political problems, growing street violence, and a frightening rise in kidnapping for ransom that affect regular families. Murat Emile Sr., the family patriarch, saw how quickly the safety situation was getting worse. He understood that his 13 children wouldn't be safe or have a bright future if they remained there. So, he decided to take action and get his children out of the country before they could be at risk. The family moved not just for safety, but also to achieve what they call the American dream. Murat Sr. wanted his children to have access to higher education. He wanted his children to be able to attend reliable schools and pursue a career if they choose to. He also wanted them to be able to find safe employment where they could earn a living without worrying of being robbed or extorted during their commutes. For all these reasons, he made the decision to send his children to the land of opportunity, United States of America. As we all know, there are 50+ states in the USA. Why exactly did the family choose Dorchester? The family decided to move to Dorchester because at that time, it has one of the largest Haitian communities in the United States. And by choosing Dorchester, the family could count on a helpful network of Haitian churches, grocery stores that speak Creole, community support group, and neighbors who had already gone through the immigration process, which will make it easier for the siblings and their parents to adjust to life in America. They were able to keep speaking their native language, practicing their cultural traditions, and maintaining their strong religious belief while creating a safe new home. However, for most families, relocating 13 children across international borders at the same time is both a logistical and financial nightmare. So, the Emile family took a common approach to immigration. The older siblings and parents arrived first, found housing, and then gradually sponsored the younger siblings over several years. So Stephanie and Judith were among the last one to migrate to the USA around 2002 and 2003. From court documents, we read that when the siblings got there, they stayed close together. To save money, they all live in a big house on Blue Hill Avenue in Dorchester. Sometimes as many as 12 family members live under one roof, sharing the rent, taking care of the kids, and making sure the newcomers had food, warm clothes for winter, and help them get around. It took nearly 8 years of hard work for the sibling to gain independence. In August 2011, Stephanie and Judith combined their earnings from Wendy's and the hospital to lease a third-floor apartment on Harlem Street. However, the family was so close that they intentionally chose to live in the same apartment complex as their mother. Let's hear what the other siblings have to say about Stephanie and Judith.
She would light up a room. She's the type of person that will walk in that room and everybody's frown is turned upside down. You can't really be mad at her.
23-year-old Judith loved to cook and worked at a restaurant.
She was the best little sister. Every day, I woke up, she's like, "You hungry? You want anything?"
She was always taking care of you.
Yeah, always.
The sisters finally saved up enough money to get their own place and chose what they thought was a safe, quiet apartment building in the heavily Haitian community of Dorchester.
By all accounts, they were just great girls.
They wasn't troublemakers. They didn't go out looking for trouble. They was just more to themselves.
The two of them were very close.
Very close, yeah, real close.
So close, they shared secrets nobody else knew. In fact, Judith was the only one who knew Stephanie was dating someone.
Now let's find out how Stephanie and Jean-Yves Janvier met. Since Stephanie kept her dating life private, details about where they met was not revealed. All we know is that both Stephanie and Janvier moved from Haiti and live in the same neighborhood. They probably crossed paths doing mundane things like going to the market or work and so forth. Ultimately, they started dating. Now, to understand the horror of November 14th, we have to go back 3 to 4 weeks prior. As we all can see, Stephanie was a beautiful, vibrant 21-year-old woman. She works at the nursing home in the area. She was dreaming of a career in medicine. The mistake she made is that she had secretly started dating Jean, who was 28 years old at that time. He was a naturalized American, and it stated that their courtship was very brief. They started dating mid-2011, and by early fall the same year, Stephanie realized something was wrong with Jean and decided to broke things with him, and immediately started seeing an old fling. Now, for a possessive narcissist man like Janvier, that was an unforgivable sin to him. He didn't take it well at all. He was becoming obsessively jealous of Stephanie and her new relationship. Now, let's pause for a moment. Let me start by saying that I'm not victim shaming, but it is something that I've heard and seen over and over. Even I am guilty of that. We always think that what we do, what we say, who we see, in other words, our lives have nothing to do with anybody else's life. In reality, that is untrue. So we need to remember, even though we are adults and we have the freedom to do whatever we want, but our actions can have consequences on both us and other people in our lives. Sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. Unfortunately, in this case, is for the worse. So now let's go back to the case. It stated that at 8:22 a.m. on a chilly morning in Boston, November 14, 2011, Stephanie was getting ready for the day. She was in the bathroom brushing her teeth and her phone started ringing. And yes, you can guess, it is Jean. He started calling her. And they said over the 37 minutes, he redialed her number over and over, to be exact, 10 times. So 10 times he called Stephanie. And so, to de-escalate the situation, Stephanie answered some of the calls and ignored others, right? However, what she didn't know is that Jean was on his way to her house. So at 8:59 a.m., he suddenly stopped calling. Poor Stephanie probably thought this ninja finally got the memo because he stopped calling. But that wasn't the case. It says that minutes later, Janvier opened the door and, armed with a heavy-duty 10mm semi-automatic handgun, he finds Stephanie in the bathroom brushing her teeth. They said she didn't even have time to drop her toothbrush before Janvier raises the barrel and shot her twice, execution style, in the back of her head. I guess the question some of us had is, how was he able to get inside of the house without damaging the door? Well, the sister said that the door to the apartment was malfunctioned, even though it looked like it was locked. But somebody that is familiar with the apartment knows that it's not really locked. All they need to do is just wiggle the handle and it will open. So that's exactly how Janvier, or Jean, I'm going to call him either Janvier or Jean. So whenever I say that, I'm referring to him. So that's how he was able to get into the apartment without, first of all, anybody notice and damaging anything. The other sister, 23-year-old Judith, was in her room reading the Bible to her little niece, her 2-year-old niece. But they said that when she heard the gunshot, she froze. Now, don't ask me how they knew these little details, but I'm guessing this is just a human reaction. That's what I would have done. I would have just froze. So I guess that's where they get that little details from. And for someone who knew the layout of the apartment and knew there's a second bedroom, Janvier kicked the door open and to ensure that there was no other adults in the room that can testify against him. He didn't want to leave any witness. But unfortunately for Judith, she was found and he opened fire and pointed at her point blank and shot her 4 times in the foreheads. As you can tell on the picture, she tried to block the shots with the Bible, but unfortunately that didn't work.
When we get to the apartment, we go through the front door. I immediately notice a large pool of blood in the doorway leading into the bathroom.
Sergeant Sean Doherty says he's still haunted by what he saw inside the sister's apartment that terrible morning.
I see Stephanie laid up in the corner. She appears to be shot in the back of the head, and she has a toothbrush in her hand, which leads us to believe she was actually brushing her teeth.
Moments later, Detective Doherty believes the gunman burst through Judith's bedroom door, shooting her 4 times.
The thing that struck me the most about this was when we're going through the evidence, there was actually a Bible that appeared to have been struck by a bullet, which would have meant that she had that Bible in her hand when she was shot.
What makes the sister's murder even more disturbing, Judith was killed right in front of her 2-year-old niece. She was babysitting at the time.
Although it mentioned that the toddler wasn't physically harmed, but reports said that she was completely drenched from head to toe in her aunt's blood. There was one tidbit of detail that Janvier wasn't privy of. He didn't know there was a survivor. Upstairs, there was a 3rd sister named Samantha. She was asleep. She said she was awakened by her sister's terrifying scream and the loud sound of the gunshot. She said she was terrified, but she stayed hidden in the dark and dialed 911.
All this happened? It's like 2 or 3 minutes ago.
You can hear the horror and heartbreak in the caller's voice.
So did you see anyone? No. You didn't see anybody do that?
She believed that because she stayed hidden, that's why her life was spared. However, prosecutor and her family believes that the only reason why she's alive today is because Janvier ran out of bullet. Nonetheless, we are happy he did, and we're happy that Samantha is alive. It stated that in a panic, Janvier fled the apartment, leaving behind not only a bloodbath, but also the smoking gun. They said for some unknown reason, he accidentally left the literal 10mm handgun and ran out of the apartment and vanished into thin air. Thankfully, minutes later, Boston police arrived on the scene. What they walked into was a nightmare. Stephanie is dead on the bathroom floor with her toothbrush in her hand. And in the bedroom, Judith was dead on the bed holding a Bible. And sitting next to her was her 2-year-old niece. When they asked what happened, the little baby said,
Stephanie was crying through her mouth. And I'm just like, that means she probably was bleeding through her mouth. And she was sitting right next to Judith when Judith got shot.
You would think a man who just executed 2 women, one of them he professed to love, would run out immediately and not showing his face anywhere. No, that's not Jean. That's not his style.
The entire Haitian community came together to grieve the sweet sisters, including one mysterious mourner, a young man the family is shocked to find out Stephanie had been dating.
You just had no idea.
I had no idea. And he was at the apartment the day of the murder. He came and grieved with us.
The young Haitian man's name is Jean Weavens Janvier, a local rap artist who lived around the corner with his brother.
He was there touching my mom, calming her down.
But Boston police homicide detectives are smart. They traced the 10mm gun back to him and they pulled the cell phone record showing that he had called that girl 10 times, stalking her even prior to those 10 phone calls. So on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2011, just over a month after the murder, detective called Janvier for an official interview. It stated that when police called him in for questioning, his behavior was erratic. It was like playing a game of cat and mouse where Janvier insisted that he was innocent. However, his anxious demeanor and calculated lies provided investigators with all the evidence they needed to strengthen their case against him. And during the questioning, the detective presented Janvier with the initial findings. You can guess, Janvier firmly denied any involvement in the murder of the girls. He tried to downplay his relationship with Stephanie, portraying it as a casual acquaintance instead of acknowledging that it was an intense and troubling relationship that ended up in breakup. Then they proceeded to ask Janvier, where were you on the morning of November 14? Of course, he offered a vague timeline of his whereabouts, claiming that he was not near the girl's house when the 911 call was made. As per usual, detective chose not to disclose the full extent of the forensic evidence during the interview. Instead, they gave him the rope, so to speak, to hang himself. Let him commit to a story that they can later poke holes on. While Janvier was denying any recent contact with Stephanie, detective already had the cell phone data. They were aware that he had called Stephanie 10 times within 37 minutes period right up until 8:59. His denial of this call quickly revealed to investigators that not only he was lying during the interrogation, that he was indeed their man. So that interview became the turning point for Janvier's escape. Although the police didn't have the right document to hold him that day, Janvier left the station fully aware that his alibi had fallen apart and that the police considered him the main suspect. And within 48 hours of walking out of that police station, he booked a flight from Boston to JFK and hopped in an international flight to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Because Haiti was experiencing a lot of political instability, Janvier thought he was untouchable. He spent the next 6 years living out in the open in Santo, which is a suburb of Port-au-Prince, a place that I know very, very well. He was hiding under the protection of his mother. However, back in Boston, the Emile family was broken. They were furious and paralyzed by fear because they didn't know where that cycle was. Poor Samantha later testified that she lived in constant terror that Janvier would return to finish the job and kill her for calling the police. The trial went cold all the way until 2016, when the U.S. Marshal Service elevated him to the 15 most wanted list and putting a $25,000 bounty on his head. You know what they say, money talks. So the tips were coming from everywhere. And in June 2017, someone gave a tip about his location. Armed units from the Haitian National Police, alongside with the U.S. Marshals, stormed his mother's house. They handcuffed him and dragged him outside. So when the news reported on his arrest, the Emile family watched in shock as Janvier smiled at the camera, appearing completely unfazed for what he has done. Well, since he was a naturalized U.S. citizen, the Haitian government bypassed complicated extradition law and put him straight into a flight back to Boston.
Dangerous, he's just elevated to their most wanted list.
When someone is put on the United States Marshal's top 15 most wanted, what does that mean?
Basically, it's an all-out manhunt for this individual.
U.S. Marshals say Janvier has ties to Haiti, Miami, and Montreal, but the Emile family believes he stayed close to his family.
Do you think people in the Haitian community could be hiding him out?
I think his family is hiding him out.
And in June 2019, which is 8 years after the murders, Janvier finally went to trial at the Suffolk Superior Court. The prosecution presented strong evidence, which they called the forensic triangle. First, they presented the text messages showing his motive, which was stalking. He was stalking her for a while. And then the 10 final phone calls made right before the murders associated with his cell phone. And lastly, the 10mm gun that they found at the crime scene that was traced back to him. So all the evidence pointed to only one person and one person only as the perpetrator, and it was Janvier. The trial lasted for 7 days, and after the closing arguments, the jury received the case on Wednesday, June 26, 2019. They deliberated for only 3.5 hours before they come back to the courtroom with their unanimous decision, and he was found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder for Stephanie and second-degree murder for Judith. Judge Jeffrey then sentenced Jean-Yves Janvier to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, meaning he will spend his life in a maximum security prison. But the audacity didn't stop there. When Janvier was asked to address the court, he looked at the grieving family dead in the eyes and said the following:
I have nothing to do with this. So that's all I wanted to say. I have nothing to do with it. I did not do it.
And then it was the family's turn to give their impact statement, and this is what they said.
You tore our family up in so many pieces, from sleepless nights to loss of appetites and not being able to function on a daily basis.
This morning, raw emotional pain in Suffolk Superior Court. Family members were delivering victim impact statements 8 years after the murders of 2 sisters. Jean-Yves Janvier was convicted by a jury Wednesday of killing his ex-girlfriend, Stephanie Emile, and her older sister, Judith Emile, in their Dorchester apartment in 2011. The U.S. Marshals apprehended Janvier in Haiti back in 2017.
It will be hard to say that I can't forgive you, but this mark that you left through me, it will never come out.
After victim impact statements this morning, Janvier addressed the court, not offering an apology, but continuing to plead his innocence.
I have nothing to do with this. So that's all I wanted to say. I have nothing to do with it. I did not do it.
With a first-degree murder conviction for killing Stephanie Emile, Judge Jeffrey Locke was mandated by statute to sentence Janvier to life in prison without parole. And for the second-degree murder of Judith Emile, the judge sentenced Janvier to another term of life in prison.
That term to be served from and after the sentencing in count 2 to recognize the deaths of 2 separate and distinct individuals.
Suffolk DA Rachel Rollins.
We're excited that this family gets some accountability, but it's never a victory. This was a tragedy.
Jean Weavens Janvier stands committed, and barring a successful appeal, he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Reporting live at Suffolk Superior Court in Boston, Todd Kiskiewicz, WCVB.
You know what's the irony in this whole situation? Is that Stephanie and Judith escaped violence in Haiti, seeking peace in America, only to have their lives taken away by a man who couldn't accept the word no. This is truly a tragedy indeed. When I read this, my mind was blown. Way before the murder, Stephanie had a conversation with her older sister, Whistling, where she expressed her wish, her desire to be buried in Haiti if something ever happened to her. In November 26, 2011, they had a funeral for them at the Joseph Fuso Funeral Home in Ross Lindale, Massachusetts, and the family quickly arranged for the caskets to be flown to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, 2 weeks after their untimely death. Their father, Murat Sr., was living in Haiti at the time of the heartbreaking incident. He traveled to Boston to take care of the funeral plans and support his children during the police investigation. And once he returned to Haiti with his daughter's body for burial, he likely didn't come back to Boston for the trial. Reports suggested that after the burial, he decided to stay in Haiti away from the public spotlight to cope with the loss of his beautiful daughters in private. As for the 2-year-old niece who survived the attack, she's now a teenager, and to ensure her privacy and safety, both the family and law enforcement decided to keep her identity confidential, which makes sense. Man, that was a senseless crime. My goodness, there are other girls. Anyways, what do you guys think of this case? Have you ever heard of it? If so, please let me know in the comment down below. And thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. Don't forget to leave a purple heart to celebrate the memories of Stephanie and Judith. And remember, we are as strong as the women we uplift and protect. Thanks again for watching this video today, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to spread awareness in our community. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.